All right, so you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on concert tickets, expecting the seats you paid for. But if something goes wrong, what are your options? We are talking about your right as a ticket buyer and whether ticket sellers are doing enough to protect consumers. Joining us this morning to talk about it, legal expert Chris Decker. Good to have you in this morning.
Nice to be here.
We're talking about the story that we did last week, looking at this woman who came from Chicago to go see Noah Kahan at Coors Field. She bought on a third-party site what she thought was a wheelchair accessible seat. She gets there and realizes it isn't. So what are your rights when you buy a ticket that's advertised to you as an accessible seat?
Well, you have a right to the ticket that you've purchased for the event that you've purchased. You also have the right under the Americans with Disabilities Act to not be discriminated and to have a seat that's accessible to you given your disability. So in this particular situation, the ticket buyer came in, she purchased a ticket and was not given the seat that she purchased. The venue tried to accommodate her, moved her to several different seats, and it was a bad experience. So in this situation, the ticket buyer did not get what she bargained for. She did have a ticket guarantee through SeatGeek, and they tried to honor their guarantee, which is a refund of the ticket or a similar ticket.
The thing I always think about is the ADA in a situation like this, right? You know, it's an accessible seat. She has a right to the accessible seat. Is it easy to make a claim under the ADA?
Well, the ADA under Articles 2 and 3 give you direct access to state and federal court if you want to file a lawsuit. But basically, ticket buyers don't want to go to a concert and then file a federal lawsuit. They want their ticket, they want it delivered for the event that they've purchased. So yes, the ADA does give access to federal and state courts for claims. However, it's more important to rely on these different agencies that are advocating for disabled individuals. So in this situation, she reached out and to SeatGeek and did get a refund for her ticket. It's very, very unfortunate. And in this particular case, her claim would not be against the venue itself, Coors Field. It would be against Live Nation or SeatGeek through whom she purchased the ticket.
Got it. A lot of people, I hear from people in the consumer inbox all the time who talk about, I bought this seat and it had an obstructed view and I didn't know it had an obstructed view. So from a non-ADA perspective, is there anything in law that protects me?
Yes, consumers are required to be notified if their seat is going to be obstructed or somehow partially obstructed. So in this case, she purchased a ticket that was not an obstructed ticket seat, but she didn't get it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I always think back to the hiring an attorney, filing a lawsuit. It all gets very expensive. I know attorneys can't do work for free, and so sometimes these cases are probably not the best to try to pursue.
They're probably not going to be worth your time and money to pursue a federal or state claim. To get a reporter who might be interested in consumer laws would be most important. And remember, the overall advice we have is buyer beware. Understand what you're purchasing. A ticket is essentially a license to attend the show, and any license is revocable. It comes with rules and regulations, and so it's important that the consumer understand what those limitations are. And in almost every case, tickets are going to be limited to liquidated damages or the amount of money that you have into that ticket. Your expectation and hope for wonderful memories simply cannot be collected as a measure of damages.
I always tell people, read the terms and conditions that
That's
nobody
right.
wants to read, but usually there's an arbitration clause or something in there that might prevent a ticket from even going to court in the first place.
That's right. That's why there's all that tiny little writing on the back of your seat, and anytime you purchase a ticket, you're going to have to scroll through and accept the terms and conditions of that ticket.
Do you have fun reading this fine print as an attorney? Like, is that fun reading that for you?
No, it's no fun at all.
Yeah, I just figured. What should ticket sellers know? Like, say I'm putting a ticket up on StubHub, SeatGeek, one of these platforms. What should I know when it comes to advertising? Like, could I be personally held liable if I advertise the wrong thing?
No, if you go through a third-party ticket vendor, you as the individual seller are not liable. What a consumer should keep in mind is to go through one of the larger third-party sellers, SeatGeek or StubHub, but buying it from an individual off-market can be very, very dangerous. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get the ticket for the event and the location and the seat that you intend to buy.
All right. Chris Decker, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
All right. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.